Last time, you remember, Boris and Natasha attempted to hitch a ride in Bullwinkle's armored car, but got the big brush off when he went under a low bridge.
Always something new, eh, Boris?
Like what?
This is first time I ever walked home from boat ride.
Meanwhile, our heroes were just depositing the money in the Hog Breeders National Bank in Squaw's Ankle, Wyoming.
You sure the money will be safe, Mr. Wangle?
Safe? Safe? Oh,
Yeah, that is pretty ridiculous, isn't it?
What's so ridiculous, Bullwinkle?
I don't know, but we need every laugh we can get.
I meant it's foolish to worry about money in this bank. It's one big booby trap.
Oh, I could tell by looking at the customers.
No, I mean when we put something in this vault, it's in to stay. Now, let's see what happens when somebody tries to get into the vault. As soon as he touches the door,
Like this?
an electric light flashes. An electric handcuff grabs his wrists. An electric club starts hitting him on the head. And an electric FBI man comes out and arrests him.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
What happens if the electricity goes off?
It can't. The cable is armor-plated all the way out of the bank and out of town clean to the main power line. Look.
And in a little while, Mr. Wangle and our heroes were standing near the main power pole outside Squaw's Ankle.
Gee, I guess you've thought of everything.
Yep. Except maybe somebody cutting the main power line.
Oh, come on, Bullwinkle. How could you cut the main line?
Easy. You just climb up this pole and snip-snap with a pair of scissors.
Yeah, but the electric company wouldn't let you do that.
I'd like to see him stop me.
Okay, you're stopped.
Who you? Who you?
World's most famous electric company detective.
An electric company detective? What's your name?
Sherlock Holmes.
Holmes?
OHMS is an electrical joke. And this is my partner, Dr. Watts.
WATTS, darling.
Sure, I've seen your name on light bulbs.
Ho, ho, ho. Can I get down now?
Certainly.
Thanks, I guess.
And in a little while, our heroes were back at the bank.
Well, looks as if everything's okay. We must be near the end of another story.
Time for us to walk hand in hand into the sunset, huh?
Yeah, except it's awful early in this episode.
Early? Look, it's dark outside already.
True enough, the sun had gone down, but the story seemed far from ended.
It's only the beginning, folks.
What is fiendish plan, Holmes?
It's obvious, Natasha. We cut line, town is blacked out, we sneak in, rob bank.
But if whole town is blacked out, why not rob whole town?
Natasha, I got it. Wait till you hear.
What, darling?
If whole town is blacked out, why not rob whole town?
Boris, how do you get such marvelous ideas?
Oh, they just come to me.
Oh, I know.
Okay, Natasha, start snipping with snippers.
And the two villains began chopping at the main power line. In just a few seconds, all the lights in Squaw's Ankle began to flicker and dim.
Boy, my eyes hurt. My glasses need changing.
You don't wear glasses, Bullwinkle.
Well, then my eyes need changing.
And at that second, all electricity went off in Squaw's Ankle, and the whole town lay at the mercy of Boris Badenov.
Mercy? I don't know the meaning of the word.
It means the quality.
Oh, never mind.
Be with us next time for Boris Takes a Town or The Nightmare.
Long time ago, there was a little kingdom which perched on the top of a high mountain. The king of this little kingdom was constantly trying to find new ways to raise money to buy the things he thought the country needed. Like, a new robe for the king, for instance.
How much is it?
500 pezuzas, Your Majesty.
Well, I'll have to levy another tax on the little people.
But we already have a tax on everything, Majesty. What can you tax them for?
Easy. I'll just tax them for being little people.
Hear ye, all people under 4'6" will be taxed accordingly.
Well, there weren't very many people that little. Matter of fact, only one family in the kingdom was under 4'6", the goblins, and they didn't like it a bit.
Maybe we don't have height, but we've got heart. If you're gonna live on this mountain, you gotta pay the tax. Then we won't live on the mountain. We'll live in the mountain. Come on, all you goblins.
And the whole goblin family entered a hole in the side of the mountain and shut the door.
And you better be careful from now on, or the goblins will get you if you don't watch out.
But, as we said, that was a long, long time ago. Since then, many kings had come and gone, tall, short, and medium. But the goblins still lived inside of the mountain, from where they would sally forth on moonlight nights to try to get people.
Hey, Sam.
Huh?
What do we do with the people when we get them?
Don't ask me. We never got one yet.
But sneaky though they were, the goblins had two weaknesses. First, they had very, very tender feet.
Sam, on my foot. My foot, take it off. It's killing me.
What's on it?
A feather.
Oh, I bet that hurt.
The goblins' second weakness was poetry.
Yeah, we hate it.
And that's one of the reasons they never got anybody. For all a person had to do was to say,
1, 2, buckle my shoe. 3, 4, shut the door.
And the goblins were stopped cold. Now, one day, the king decided to tell his daughter, Irene, the facts of life.
And remember, the goblins will get you if you don't watch out.
Have you ever seen a goblin?
No, but...
Well, how do you know there are such things? Is that a goblin?
Of course not.
Is that a goblin?
No.
Is that a goblin?
Why, yes, I believe it is.
It is! A goblin! A goblin!
And the princess ran for her life with the goblin close behind her.
I told you they'd get you.
But I don't want to be got. Help! Help!
The king summoned his knights, but their swords made no impression on the goblins at all. Things looked bad for the princess. Across a young miner named Curdy. And he was so struck by the princess' beauty that he was moved to poetry.
Oh, Princess Fair, your golden hair, upon your head, I see it there.
And, of course, that stopped the goblin in his tracks, for he just couldn't stand poetry.
You saved me with your poem. Are you a handsome prince in disguise?
No, I'm just a handsome miner boy. Brave, courageous.
Couldn't you go somewhere and learn to be a prince?
Like where?
How about Princeton?
Isn't that awful?
Little did the princess know that the goblin who had chased her was the prince of goblins himself, that he was determined to make her his bride.
Are we almost there?
This is your spot, Gov.
Unfortunately for the goblins, they had chosen to come up in the middle of the royal croquet court.
4!
Not the right spot, huh?
A little more this way, I think. Yeah, there she is. Grab her.
But the goblins had guessed wrong again, and got Curdy instead.
You fellows are making a terrible mistake. I'm Curdy.
You sure are, hun.
Well, I'll just recite a rhyme and,
But without the princess to inspire him, Curdy couldn't think of a thing. And in just no time, Curdy found himself in a very embarrassing position.
Do you take this earthling for your wife?
She sure looks different. Could I take it out in the daylight and look at it?
And so the goblins came out of the mountain with Curdy still closely guarded. But who should he see just outside the hole but the princess herself? Again inspired, Curdy burst into verse.
What a gladsome fine surprise, now to see you with my eyes. I love you more, my lovely princess, than pies of apples or of minces.
Well, the guards just couldn't stand that. I really can't blame them.
Stamp on their toes! Stamp on their toes!
And the goblins fled back into the mountain forever.
See? I told you the goblins will get you if you don't watch out.
But you were wrong.
I was?
Sure. It's the love bug that gets you if you don't watch out.
Well, we we always say that when better fiendish plans are made, Boris Badenov will make them. His latest was to disguise himself and Natasha as inspectors for the electric company.
Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watts at your service.
Their scheme was to rob a whole town by cutting the main power line leading to Squaw's Ankle, Wyoming, and plunging the town into darkness. And this time, oddly enough, the scheme worked. Back in Squaw's Ankle, our heroes noticed immediately that something was wrong.
It's dark.
Pretty shrewd.
Thanks.
It did get late all of a sudden, didn't it?
Yeah. Looks like every light bulb in town went out at the same time.
They don't make 'em like they used to.
Let's go see what's the matter.
Our boys started off, but unable to see where he was going, Bullwinkle stumbled over a small dog and crashed his antler through a store window.
Are you hurt, Bullwinkle?
Nope, but I'm afraid I bent this window a bit.
What's that wire around your antler?
Don't know. Leads back into the stores.
Here, I'll light a match and hokey smoke.
You're a little young to hokey smoke yet, Rocky. I think...
Bullwinkle, this is no laughing matter.
What's it doing in the dialogue?
Look here.
Sure enough, that wire was part of the store's burglar alarm system. But just then, a familiar figure came on the scene carrying a flashlight.
Oop!
Hey, it's Mr. Wangle, the bank president.
Glad I ran into you, boys.
You didn't. You walked into us.
We got to get to the bank. We're in trouble.
They coming to look at the books?
Even worse. With no electricity, our safe isn't safe anymore.
Not even half safe?
It won't even stay closed.
Uh-oh.
You said it.
Sure enough, when our friends dashed into the bank and shone their flashlights on the vault, the huge door was sagging wide open.
Gee, this must be happening all over town.
Golly, looks like bank night for bank robbers.
It was true. The whole town lay at the mercy of anyone mean and dirty enough to come in and rob it.
And you know who he means, don't you, folks?
The two villains strolled into the lonely outskirts of Squaw's Ankle and headed for the first store in town, the Bonton Bootery. Sure enough, the door swung open freely, no burglar alarm sounded, and the two villains were able to slip inside with no trouble at all. And small wonder, for the Bonton Bootery had been out of business for 14 years.
Never mind. It's good practice anyway. Come on.
Meanwhile, back in the middle of town, our heroes were in a dimly lit billiard parlor.
Bullwinkle, I got it.
8 ball in the side pocket.
No, an idea.
Yeah, must have got the wrong cue.
What about our worms?
Yeah, what about them?
Good idea, huh?
Yeah, what about them?
Don't you remember our herd of worms? What do we raise on our ranch? All right, if you insist, we'll flash back.
And Rocky reminded Bullwinkle that when they had been herding their fishing worms underground, lightning had struck the herd and every worm had been supercharged. As a result, they lit up like a lot of Christmas tree lights, which made them very picturesque, but quite useless as bait.
Oh, those worms.
Gee, Bullwinkle, it was only 2 days ago.
Well, I've slept since then.
And where are those worms today?
I give up. Now let me ask you one. Whatever happened to Evelyn Brent?
They're right outside in our armored car, that's where.
Evelyn Brent?
The worms.
Oh.
Come on, Bullwinkle. We're going to use them to protect the town.
These little creeps?
Well, if Rocky has a plan, he'd better put it into action quick, for Boris and Natasha have just turned the corner and are heading for the Hog Breeders National Bank.
Last one into vault is dirty no good, Nick.
You kidding? I'm always dirty no good, Nick.
Be with us next time for Just Boris and Me, or the Yeg and I.
The meeting will now come to order. Everybody take their seats. Let's have a little quiet there. Order! Sergeant-at-Arms, clear those aisles. Order!
Bullwinkle?
What, Rock?
Aren't you overdoing it a little?
Yeah, guess I got sort of carried away.
I second the motion.
Okay, let's start with the Bullwinkle and Rocky fan club cheer. Ready?
Cheer?
How does it go?
How should I know? I haven't heard it yet. Hooray for Rock! Hooray for Rock! Greatest kid on any block! Hooray for Bullwinkle! Hooray for Bullwinkle! He's so suave and handsome?
Hey, that doesn't rhyme.
I know. Maybe I ought to change my name so it rhymes with handsome.
Why not? It's fantasy show.
Now, what's the first order of business?
May I have the floor?
If you promise to give it back.
We gotta think of a way of enlarging our membership.
Maybe we could eat more, Rocky.
I mean, we ought to have more members.
Or less auditorium.
I got it. Everybody bring a friend next time.
Hooray!
Hey! It's discrimination. You know I don't got any friends.
Well, did everybody bring a friend? Natasha?
Mine escaped, darling.
Captain Peach Fuzz?
I forgot.
Boris?
I didn't bring a friend, but how about some enemies? I got 1,000,000 of them.
Hello again. Peabody. And this, of course, is my boy, Sherman.
Hi. Who are we going back into history to meet today, Mr. Peabody?
I'll give you a little clue. Listen closely.
I've got it. Admiral Byrd.
Wrong, Sherman. Whistler.
You mean Whistler, the famous painter?
Correct. Now, if you will set the Wayback Machine for the year 1872...
Right.
And the place, the home of the famous American painter James Whistler in London, England, we shall be on our way. In an instant, Sherman and I were transported to the side of the great artist where we found him hard at work on his most famous painting.
But, Mr. Peabody, I thought his most famous painting was of his mother.
Whistler's mother. That's quite right, Sherman.
But that's not what he's painting. Look.
Something is amiss here. I beg your pardon, sir. May I ask just what it is you're doing?
I'm painting a picture of my mother's chair.
Well, I can see that, but aren't you overlooking something?
Like what?
Like something in the chair?
Like what?
Like your mother?
Oh, yes, Mother. I tried to paint Mother sitting in the chair, but found that to be impossible. I'm afraid I'll just have to be content to paint her chair.
He can't do that, Mr. Peabody. The painting of Whistler's mother will never be famous without his mother in it.
That, Sherman, is a keen observation. Why, sir, may I ask, is it impossible to paint your mother sitting in the chair?
That's why.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Come along and I'll show you.
We followed him out of the house into the backyard where suddenly and without warning, a most unusual thing happened.
Now I've got you, you rustler, you.
Wait, that's not a rustler, it's Whistler.
Mother, please, we have guests.
Mother? You mean that's Whistler's mother?
How do you do, ma'am? Pleased, I'm sure.
Well, howdy, boys. What brings you around these parts?
I'm afraid that Mother's hobby is the Old West. All she ever thinks about is cowboys.
I've noticed that.
And that's why I can't paint her. I can't get her to sit still long enough.
Come on, fellas. Let's play cowboys and Indians. Yahoo!
See what I mean?
Golly, Mr. Peabody, this is a problem.
Quite, Sherman, but I may have the answer. My first task was to lure Whistler's mother back into the house, which, of course, was really very simple. Whoa!
Which way did they go?
That away!
Good! Follow me!
Forming a posse, we all galloped into the house, where I quickly put the second part of my plan into action.
Boy, that was a keen idea, Mr. Peabody. Now she's as still as can be.
Right, Sherman. Pretending to be astride a horse will keep her perfectly happy. You have already painted the chair, sir. Now simply paint your mother sitting in it.
I'll try.
Hours later, the painting was completed. However, not with the exact results I had expected.
Sorry, but I have to paint it like I see it.
Here she comes again, Mr. Peabody.
Yoo-hoo! Bang, bang!
Have you got any more ideas, Mr. Peabody?
I always have more ideas, Sherman. I shall solve the problem with a contest of speed.
Huh?
Dressing the great artist in a cowboy suit, I once more confronted his mother. Word has it that you are the fastest gun in the West, ma'am. Is that true?
That's right, boy. I'm just like greased lightning.
Do you think you are faster than he is?
Land sakes, yes.
Well, are you fast enough to say, give him a slight edge?
Sure. Just name it.
All right, come with me. Moments later, the stage was set. Well, sitting in your chair with your guns covered by your cloak and shawl is quite an edge. Are you certain you wish to go through with it?
Yep. You just give the word.
Placing Whistler in front of his easel, I carefully removed the gun from its holster and replaced it with his trusty paintbrush. Now all was in readiness, so I gave the signal, go! Realizing that he at last had his dear mother just where he wanted her, and that he had to be fast to capture her on canvas, Whistler whipped out his brush, and in the flick of an eye, he painted her portrait.
Hooray! I did it!
Bang! Shucks, he beat me. Guess I'd better go out and do some more practicing. Giddy up!
Gee, it all worked out just right, Mr. Peabody. And this is the painting Whistler became most famous for.
Yes, but for some years there was much confusion as to just who Whistler's mother was, due to an earlier painting of his. This one, to be exact.
But that's a picture of a horse running through the rain. How could that cause confusion as to who his mother was?
Because of what he called the painting.
Mr. Peabody, you mean?
Yes, Sherman. For you see, he called it Whistler's mother.
last time, things really looked black for our friends, especially when every light in Squaw's ankle went out.
Well, now starts the fun, Natasha. Last one into the bank vault is a rotten egg.
Of course, darling. But then again, so is first one. Bullwinkle, I think somebody's planning to hold up Squaw's ankle.
Won't that make her fall down?
I mean, they're going to rob the town in the dark.
Jumpin' gee-horse that rock. How do we stop 'em?
We light up the town again.
But how, Rocky?
With our supercharged worm herd.
And the brave squirrel reached in the back of a nearby armored car that he and Bullwinkle happened to have.
Doesn't everybody?
And pulled out one of their special glowworms.
Now, if we can just get him to cooperate.
Meanwhile, Boris and Natasha had reached the half-open door of the bank vault.
It's just like taking brandy from a baby, Natasha.
That's taking candy, darling.
You take what you want, I take what I want.
But at that instant...
Boris, the town is all lit up like, you'll pardon the expression, Christmas tree.
Oh, boy! As old Roman ancestors used to say, in hoc signo vinces.
Meaning?
The jig is up.
Little did Boris and Natasha know that those flashing lights were really Rocky's herd of glowworms, lighting up loyally and making the street bright as day.
Keep at it, boys!
Well, with their plan ruined, Boris and Natasha had to beat a hasty retreat.
Squaw's ankle is safe at last.
Okay, fellas, you can knock off now.
I don't think they want to, Rock.
It was true. So delighted with the glowworms with their success that they stayed at their post from that moment on. This was a boon to the citizens of Squaw's ankle, for the glowworms could change positions in a matter of seconds. Thus, the same sign was able to blink welcome to new arrivals and bye-bye to those leaving town. When a store changed hands, it was a simple matter to change signs. And glowworms were invaluable at clearance sales time. Of course, people flocked to Squaw's ankle to see this wondrous sight. Thanks to Rocky and Bullwinkle, the town was finally on the map. And so as our heroes got ready to go home...
And in gratitude, dear boy, we are changing the name of Squaw's ankle to Squirrel's ankle.
Hooray! Everybody was delighted with the idea.
Not quite everybody, Sonny Jim. Well, this is it.
This is what, darling?
This is end of electric power cable, 20 million volts. You fasten that end to that track, I fasten this end to this track.
And then train rolls over wires.
Roast moose and squirrel fricassee.
Oh, how can you be so mean, darling?
Because it'll gonna be the end for moose and squirrel.
So?
The end always justifies the mean.
Then they can't fail this time. Congratulations, Boris.
You said it, Natasha. Shake.
Thus it was that the train bearing our heroes sped safely back toward Frostbite Falls.
Gee, I sort of hate to leave the worm ranch, Bullwinkle.
Oh, I don't know. I thought I was going to be a cowboy.
And?
Who wants to be known as a worm boy?
Yeah, lucky we weren't raising ducks to make down pillows out of.
How come?
Then you'd be known as a down boy.
Pretty sneaky, Rock.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
What would you say?
I'd say it was the end.
And so it is of this story. But next time we'll start a brand new bushy tale of Rocky the Flying Squirrel.